Up to now we've talked about triads, major, minor, diminished, augmented triads, and we talked about 4-note chords such as 6, 7ths, and major 7th. Now I'd like to talk about 5-note chords, but to play a 5-note chord you have to have either huge hands or you have to divide the chord somehow. And there's two ways to divide it. One, you can divide it between the right hand and the left hand. In other words, play part of the chord in the left hand and part in the right hand. For example, if you were going to play C ninth, for example, I could play the ninth in my right hand because my hands just not big enough to play all those notes. Okay. Now some people's are, I realize that, but even if they can play a ninth, it's pretty hard to form an 11th or a 13th. Because you just don't have enough fingers. So you have to divide it between your right hand and your left hand, or you have to play a two-part chord in your left hand. That's how I'm going to show you how to do that right now. Okay. First of all, let's look at 5-note chords. After 6th, 7th, and major 7th, which are 4-note chords, we can add a ninth, or for that matter, a flatted ninth or a raised ninth. Okay, but we won't talk about that right now. And an 11th and a 13th. Okay. Obviously, there's no point in adding that because that's the same note as the root, right? So the only different notes are the 9th, 11th, and 13th. Okay, so we can, like I say, we can either play it with two hands like that, or we can learn to play it in one hand as a two-part series, and that's what we're going to do. Okay, so what we do is to turn the chord, whatever chord you're playing, into second inversion. Okay. And then add the 7th, because the 9th, 11th, 13th typically include the 7th. So I'll add the 7th. Okay, so we're playing C7th, which is a 4-note chord. But before I do that, I will hit a low C with my little finger and push my damper pedal down. My damper pedal is depressed, and then I'll play that chord. Okay, so that's C7th. Now to play a ninth, you simply move up a whole step from the root. So that's C9. So now I have a C9th chord. And it's a 5-note chord, but it's in two parts. First part, second part. Okay, and that's how you play a C ninth in a two-part situation. To play an 11th, you simply move the third up a half step to the 11th. You don't play the third and the 11th at the same time because that's way too dissonant. Okay, so you just move it up like that. So you play the low C and then the 11th. Okay. And then to play a 13th, you move the 5th up a whole step to the 13th. See that's a 6th, but it's also a 13th. Okay, if I counted it from here, up here, that would be the 13th note above that. So it's called a 13th. And like I said, I could play that in two hands, but to do it in one hand, then I need to play it like that: 13th on the bottom, 7th, 9th, and 11th. Now, as I said, there could be a flatted ninth. You might play a flatted ninth instead, or a sharp 11th. There's all kinds of variations to that, but that's how you do it. You break it up into two sections. Okay? So let's quickly review again. We have triads, major, minor, diminished, augmented. We've got 4-note chords such as 6th, 7th, major 7th, and of course minor 6th, minor 7th, minor 1, the major 7th, and so on. Okay? But 5-note chords, you have to divide it into two parts, either with both hands or like this, by playing the root down low and then playing the 9th in it, or the 11th in it, or the 13th in it. Okay? So that's a brief introduction to extended chords, extended beyond the triads. Okay? So we'll see you tomorrow with our final section. I think it'll be our final section anyway. And goodbye for now.